Hey, what's going on, guys? Brandon here with Texas Plinking, and let's say you blew all your money on your dream rifle and now you're struggling to get an optic. Can it work out for you? Well, that's an exaggeration, but that's something I kind of, in a way, mimicked here. This is a Barrett M107 that I've been wanting for quite a few years, but they're very expensive rifles. But I finally forked out the cash for it, but I told myself I would only do that if I justified it, and I would do that by making a lot of videos with this thing. And there's an end goal I want to do with this thing. It will be a setup with a certain configuration, but I thought until then, let's have some fun with it. And the first thing I wanted to do was put an economic optic on it and showcase it, shoot at some distance as well, to see if and by how much the limiting factor is by putting a budget optic on there. So that's exactly what we did. Budget, but still something that is like the lowest price of something I'd still recommend. This isn't like some $90, airsoft optic I got on Amazon, although that'd be kind of funny. No, this is still a proper optic. In fact, to tell you guys what it is, it's an Arken Optic LH-4, 4-16 by 44, and I've actually already showcased this on a very expensive rifle. It was a Altera Arms Mountain Shadow Carbon in 6.5 PRC. And I already mentioned in that video that it'd be funny throwing a $300 or so optic on what is a $6,500 rifle, but now we're going to do it a step bigger. Before I go through the specs rundown, I'll summarize it by saying this is tailored as a economic but still very functional and good optic, but for the hunting segment because it's very lightweight and it has all the features you need and nothing you really don't. Let's start off by just saying the price, that way you guys know what we're dealing with here, and then we'll go into the specs. So the MSRP on this is $333.32. That's the full-on MSRP. But if you guys are new here, you guys know that Arken is a partner with the channel, and they gave us a pretty cool discount code to share, and that is Texas Plinking. That coupon code is kind of moving all the time, but at all times it matches the very best deal currently available at Arken Optics. And as I'm shooting this video, using coupon code Texas Plinking, buying this optic brings it to just a tick over $280. So it's sub $300, absolutely. And this is the least expensive optic on all of Arken Optics, and they're known for making very economic optics. That is, unless you go to the low power variables, like the 1-6 is even cheaper, but this is a 4-16. So this is definitely more of a magnified optic for, I don't know about this application, but further ranges and hunting, like I had mentioned. So for the current price, as I'm shooting this video with that discount code of $280, let's call it, what does that get you? Well, a lot of it's in the name itself. 4-16 is the zoom range, and that is plenty fine for all hunting applications, certainly here today at 1,000 yards. And surprisingly, at under $300, they still have first focal plane. So that's just the age we're in right now with optics. A lot to be had for not a lot of money. First focal plane as opposed to second focal plane. What first focal plane is, if you guys don't know, as you zoom in, obviously your image is being enlarged because you're zooming in, but your reticle is also on that plane, so your reticle zooms in. Just less math to do. It's the relativity of what is a mil or a MOA stays the same throughout the zoom range. There's also a 6-24 of this series LH, if I'm not mistaken. It's got a 30mm tube diameter, which was considered to be pretty standard on tactical stuff not that long ago, but for a hunting optic, it is fantastic. Larger tube diameter just means it can pack in some more mils or MOA of elevation travel. The turrets, windage, and elevation are capped. Another surprising feature for the price range, though, is it does have illumination. So for those dark dusk situations, you can't see a black reticle against the contrasting background, you could go ahead and illuminate it to red with the different brightness settings there. It does have zero reset, I would hope so. So you can zero the thing, windage and elevation. What it doesn't have is a zero stop. And I guess for the application of the optic, especially at the price range, that's okay. But once you go to a bench rest rifle, you're definitely gonna want zero stop, and that's where you're gonna have to look at other optics. Even within the family of Arken Optics, this is, I think, one of the only ones without a zero stop. But again, for the purpose of hunting and all, it's okay, especially if you have a budget. This should meet a lot of people's budget for an optic when looking for a hunting optic, and the weight is not bad whatsoever either. 24.45 ounces, and so I put that up against a lot of other optics, and it's one of the lighter ones, certainly. So what it's doing on a big old Barrett M107, no, this is not a cohesive setup whatsoever. This is just purely for video because I don't think anyone else is going to do it. So much like Trump would say, someone had to do it.
Somebody had to do it. I am the chosen one.
So it's easy to just run through specs of the optic, but got to tell you guys about impressions of it just to set the expectations out there. This scope is amazing for the price, but I do have to add that last part, for the price. If you were to just tell me all the specs about it, I would think it's priced around the $600-700 mark. And for that, it doesn't blow me out of the water, but it just kind of blends in. At this price range, it does blow me out of the water. So take that for what you will. Why is that? It's not the feature set. I could go without the zero stop for this purpose. But the glass quality, by no means is it bad, but it's not like even the other Arkens out there, the EP line especially. I think as a more cohesive setup, I would stick to a hunting purpose here. If you're building up an AR-10 or a bolt action rifle for bench rest, go ahead and get another optic is what I'd recommend. Even in the lineup of Arken, you could spend just a matter of another couple $100 or so and get yourself better glass and a zero stop and just a bigger objective lens, stuff like that, and a 34mm main tube diameter for just a couple $100 more. So why didn't I put that on the M107? Because I try to go to the polar opposite end, and that's what we have here, under $300 on this rifle. Now, to mention the rifle just a wee bit more in the plans, because they are exciting. This is a Barrett M107a1, like I mentioned, and it has a 20-inch barrel, because I still have my M82, and that's got a 29-inch barrel, and I don't want to change that M82 from how it is right now. I love the M82 with the classic 29-inch barrel and the arrowhead muzzle brake. I don't want to suppress that thing. It looks awesome the way it is, especially with that Leupold Mark IV 4-14. It just looks right, and I don't want to touch that. But this one I'm going to have some fun with, as I am today. And in fact, I have a Barrett QDL suppressor on order, and I'm just waiting for approval. And the approval times lately have been taking like about a week or less. So within a few days, I should get my QDL suppressor. So the next time you see this thing will be suppressed. In addition to that, I suppose I'll tease it. We'll rip off this optic after this video, and then I'll do the same thing, suppressed, but with a budget thermal. That should be fun. And I don't know if I want to tease it too much, but I have the thermal right here. And maybe at the very end of the video, if I'm up for it, maybe I'll tease it just a little bit, but stick around to the very end. Other than that, I don't have fancy ammo for this thing out today. Just for the purpose of this, I want to blast around with some 660 grain ball ammo that is de-linked for a machine gun. So that should not be terribly accurate, but it is enough to just at least scratch the itch. As of right now, I have not shot this thing once. So I'm a little nervous. I think I put it together the way it's supposed to be put together. And we got to shoot at 100 yards to just do a sight-in and a little bit of grouping. So why am I nervous? All right, let's just do it. All right, it's been a while since I've shot a 50 BMG, so let's go ahead and clear some sinuses. My dumb self forgot to bring a shooting mat, and so not only am I going to get down with the elements, but when this thing goes off, it's probably going to get pretty dirty. So that's on me. All right, first shots with it. Glad you guys are going to experience it with me. All right, now the fun can really start because we're going to shoot at 1,000 yards. But before we do, I have to show you guys what happened at 100 yards. Huge oversight on my end. I had to waste quite a few rounds not getting on the berm because of this oversight. I put this on a cantilever mount from Arken Optics, and this has a 20 MOA cant. So 20 MOA of pre-cant, that way you could use more of your mills. Well, I totally forgot the Barrett M82s and M107s have a 27 MOA rail. So we've got 47 MOA of pre-cant. So I had to max out this little optic all the way, and I was still 4.5 mils off. So it was shooting high, and we got it on paper. And so, you know, oops. Safety-wise, just because if it went over that berm, all good. It still is landing on the mound of this entire property, so no concern there.
Tonight, authorities are investigating a report of a small plane shot.
Well, once I got on paper, I just committed to shooting 2 more rounds just to have some form of a grouping. And, well, I got a 3¼ inch group. Now, if you don't know this gun, you're going to think that's absolutely abysmal. If you know the circumstances, that's actually kind of in line with what we expect out of Barrett M82s and M107s when shooting that ammo. Ball round, just de-linked machine gun stuff, 660 grain. Yeah, I always said that's between a 3 and a 5 MOA gun and ammo combination. So it's on the more accurate side of that, probably because we only did 3 rounds. If I'd had done 2 more, probably would have gone somewhere in the middle there, probably 3.5 to 4. But 3¼ out of 3 rounds, totally in line with what I expect. If we were to do some 100D AMAX rounds, it would have probably shrunken that up to about half that. I know, not ideal, but, you know, still had to refinance my house ever since I bought this thing because of the ammo. So hope you guys enjoy. All right, 10 rounds of this 660 grain ball round. First time I fully loaded this beast. Okay. Oh gosh, I'm nervous again. All right, we're gonna go for the big old square to the right. We might even break it. That might be fun. Wouldn't you know it, it's a bit low, so my calculator was off. I should have brought my chrono and actually chronoed this stuff, but we are going to have to dial up. All right, I'm being a little too conservative with my adjustment, so let's just go ahead and go for it. I saw that plate rocking, pretty sure it hit the ground and bounced up to it. All right, let's just hold. All over it. That might be a hit. All right, another fully loaded mag. Oh boy. All right, tell you what, I'm gonna put 5 more in here because then that will leave me 3 more, and then we could kind of get a 3-round group at the very end to see if it had shifted at all. So let's go ahead and run these 5 rounds, giving this thing no break. First day on the job and it's getting hot. Looks like it went right behind it. I think that's just kind of we're at the helm of the ammo, and that's about the grouping I can kind of expect at 1,000 yards with this ball ammo. But so far, the optic itself isn't doing anything funky. When I've dialed left and right, a little up and down, I could tell as a grouping it does move, but the ammo is just not that repeatable. Why don't we do this? Let's go ahead and set this back to 0 and 0. Remember my hold for 100 yards and punch some more paper, see what happens. All right, so now back on the table to talk about that grouping, and I should have done a better job prefacing expectations for this kind of rifle with that kind of ammo, but I have to say, so far, a pretty big win for this scope, and I'll tell you why. Quick little self-plug, I made a video titled How Accurate is the Barrett M82 and talked about its purpose from the ground up on why it's not a sniper rifle or precision rifle, it's anti-materiel rifle. So if you guys want some more information on the M82 and M107 on how it's tasked, I do recommend you watch that video. It's one of my more proud videos I've made, so please do be sure to give that a view. So to skip ahead a little bit, hopefully you guys just watch that. This thing, when it shot that 3 1/4 inch group, I was kind of just like, yeah, that's on par with what to expect. That had nothing to do with the optic itself. Then come back here, then dial to 1,000 yards, a little bit of trial and error. And again, the hit ratio may not have looked terribly sexy, but I know to expect that out of that ammo with this rifle setup. And like I mentioned, if we were to shoot the Hornady AMAX 750 grain stuff at like $7 to $10 a round, that grouping would have been shrunk to about half, maybe even slightly better on paper and at 1,000 yards. We're not doing that today. We're just kind of trying to be silly here. So nonetheless, we're shooting at 1,000 yards, and I counted the brass. Totaled up, it's 38 rounds, and kind of shot in fast succession too. It really didn't go easy on any of the setup here. After we had our fun with 1,000 yards, came back to 100 yards and did the exact same hold I did, dialed it to the exact same spot on the turret, and well, we shot another 3 or so inch group. And if you put triangles on each grouping, it totally overlaps dead center, and so we have our 0 mark. Funny thing is, where I would zero it from, it didn't impact, but hey, that's just the nature of a semi-automatic 50 BMG with that bad ammo. But that's the 0 mark, and it's very distinctive on both groups that were separated between all those rounds and that time, but back to the scope, it found that same average on those two groupings, so the scope itself didn't shift at all. I know the hits weren't sexy, but I totally expected this performance as far as hits and misses and grouping, but to be able to go back to that 0 and then get that pretty much identical grouping spot, that goes to the optic in itself and how it wasn't phased by 50 BMG. So that's it for this first video with the M107. Be ready to be spammed with it, and well, if you're still here, I'll talk about it. The next video will be suppressed, and maybe we'll shoot it at closer ranges at dusk and night to showcase a little bit of budget thermal. I recently made a video with some budget night vision / budget thermal, and it was the DNT Therm Night. So it was like a thermal scope with digital night vision on top of it, and the whole thing was right around that $1,000 mark, which was insane. So I have that video out there from about a couple months ago, so check it out if you want. And well, what they've released here is the DNT Hydra, which is pretty much that optic minus the night vision mode. So it's a little bit more streamlined and compact. So this is the Hydra HS225, which is the least expensive way to get thermal from them, and they're already like some of the best thermal at that price range. It has a ton of reticle options, but you could go ahead and just turn the reticle off and then just hand hold for scanning, or in this case, you put it down all the way to its minimum magnification of 3x. And with this mount, you could actually do this. You can turn your day optic into thermal, and that's where this thing is super cool. A thermal clip-on for your day optics. Now, before you get too excited, this could work, but it's a little tough because the minimum magnification here is 4 and the minimum magnification of digital zoom here is 3. So it's very, very zoomed in. So it could work. It's just not as easy as you might think. Where this would really come in handy is on a low power variable, a 1 to 4, 1 to 6, 1 to 8, and you keep it under 3 power, ideally even 1x zoom. For hunting applications, that should be plenty because it's night huntings for hogs or coyotes or whatever else. And that's where it's really cool that you could keep your day optic, day 0, everything, and just throw this on the top of the monolithic rail, and now you have thermal, which is pretty freaking badass. The first time I ever turned this on, I went to my backyard just to scan, just for fun. And little did I know, there was 3 coyotes behind my house, not howling, not making any sound. And I actually screen recorded it because this does have built-in recording. If it's like the Thermite, it should be like 32 gigabytes of built-in memory as well. So I started recording so I could share that with you guys. So check out that footage. The very first test I had with it was seeing coyotes, in very, very good detail too. It uses AI processing to have extra clarity within the image, and it actually does a really good job. If you don't like it, you could disable it, but no need to because it actually enhances the image really well. The temperature contrasts are very strong, as you saw with the coyotes. So this whole 3-in-1 versatility of handhold, thermal scope, thermal clip-on is awesome, especially when you know the price of it. $999 is the MSRP, and they're on sale right now for $885 if I'm not mistaken. And they too are cool partners of the channel, and they give me a discount code to share, and that is Texas Plinking, just like with Arken, and that brings it to just under $800. It's like $796 and change. So on the next video, we'll have the M107 suppressed and ditch the day scope and probably just run the thermal scope in it of itself and see how it does. Should be 50 BMG rated, hoping. Anyway, so that's the least expensive one they have. They have 2 different tiers beyond that, something for $1,300 and something for just over $2,000. And I would imagine, I'd like to get my hands on them before too long, but I'd imagine they compete with things well above that at their respective price points. This thing at under $1,000 is awesome, but it is not like a $6,000 Pulsar. But maybe the Hydra that's at like that $2,100, $2,200 price range is as good or better than those very expensive Pulsars. So time will tell. I'd like to get my hands on that, and but yeah, I was really excited about it, so I couldn't help not at least showcasing it at the end of this video. But that does it, guys. I have the ability to put these weird setups together, and the fact that I don't more often and showcase on videos a crime. So here you go, starting off 2025 in a very weird way. Hope you guys are okay with it. But that does it. Thanks so much for watching. See you guys next time.